Just quieten down, baby.
Per capita export value.
Libraries.
Minister, are you embarrassed by your behavior today?
There's a lot of bleeding hearts around.
Do you have the fortitude or the gonads to stand up and come across here and say that to me, you son of a bitch?
Just watch me.
He certainly went too far, Mr. Speaker, when I saw him stick his tongue out.
Contemptuous disregard.
More than a slab of bacon talking here.
The disappointment you also feel is my responsibility.
I lost my temper. What is the nature of your thoughts?
The word was FART.
3, 2, 1. I am recording. There we go. Cool.
Huzzah!
Okay, so
I did the last one. I did the last intro. You have to do this intro, but it has to be like. Well, I keep saying to do an energetic one, and you're just not. You just never bring that to the table. So how about let's just turn the dial in the opposite direction. I want this intro from you to be like the saddest, most melancholic intro you could possibly muster.
There you go.
You didn't do anything.
Sad and melancholy, like an awkward silence. So there we go. Hello, welcome to Canadian Bollocks is Boring. My name is Rhys Waters, and with me is the insatiable Jesse Harley.
Ooh, insatiable. All right, I like that.
He will not be satiated.
Okay. No, I can't. Can't be. It's impossible. People have tried.
What would you say your satiation levels are right now?
72.
72.
Out of 100.
I'm just going to write that down.
Like, it's
great. This is the politics show for people who hate politics, care about things. Jesse,
Reese,
anything to offer the STD zone?
Oh gosh,
Small Talk Dimension Zone for the people who are new.
My dog is going crazy because she sensed that something might be outside. A squirrel, a fucking bird. Doesn't matter. She goes fucking insane. So that's fun. It's always fun to deal with when you're recording a podcast.
Everybody loves the overly energetic dogs. During an audio report.
God, so happy, so fun. Oh my god.
So I was just trying to think of some fun stories, witty lines from my life, but I don't have anything to report, so we should probably just move on.
Yeah, it was kind of boring. I'm just kind of,
Yeah.
I've been like trying to fast. Just on a health note, for the past 2 or 3 years, I'm sure you've been sick of hearing about all my keto and fasting stories and journeys and like trying keto on and off and on and off. And
nothing turns me off more than people talking about their keto journey.
I don't know, man. I got nothing going on in my life right now. You're pulling out the threads. You're weeding out the garden here. You're patting me dry. You're picking stuff out of my teeth. You're combing my hair. I'm
not doing
lovingly into my eyes. I'm running out of analogies here.
Anyway, thanks for the update on your fasting journey.
I know how much you love hearing about it. I really do.
It was really nice to know that it happened. Anyway,
so actually, I got a question for you. How long have you been in Canada for now?
5 years in April next year.
Fucking A, right? So 4.5 years right now. How?
4 years.
So this will be your 4th or 5th Halloween.
This will be my, I don't know, 4th.
Your 4th Halloween.
Yeah.
And what has it been like for you and your kids so far? I mean, during a pandemic must have been fucking hard, but like before it and like kind of now where it's like wishy-washy where half, like 80% of the world pretends that we're still not in a pandemic.
For me, Halloween here is great because it's fun. It's a family affair. Everyone's having a good time. Lots of young kids happy and smiling, whereas in the UK, everyone just locks the door and hides.
Are you serious?
It's like the Purge.
Hold on. Are you actually serious?
No. My parents used to tape their letterbox shut, and we used to not answer the door all evening. A lot of people find it terrifying because just gangs of kids are out just causing mayhem.
Are you fucking serious? Oh my God. Wow, what dicks?
Here is like, hey kids, let's get candy. Oh look, everyone's having a nice time, like a film.
Like the saddest part about Halloween around here is when you've aged out of trick or treating. When you're like 15 or 16, you're like, I don't think I can be doing this anymore, guys. Whatever. Maybe 17 or 18 is better. What?
The saddest thing about Halloween in the UK is when the third brick smeared in dog shit goes through your car windscreen.
Jesus Christ. I can't tell if you're joking or not. Are you serious? Like, this is, wow. Is that true? Are you kind of exaggerating a little bit for?
No. It's like a proper, it's more trick than treat, to be honest. I used to love going out when I was like 13, 14, causing mayhem. That was the best thing about it. But then as you're an adult, you're like, oh, this is scary. Look at those hooded youths.
Utes, right?
Look at those hooded youths. They look threatening. Anyway, yeah.
Dude, that sucks. Well, I'm really glad to hear that you can enjoy Halloween here with your family then. Because it can be fun, honestly. A lot of people really...
There's bonfire night in the UK where they burn the effigy of a Catholic.
Jesus. Okay. That does sound fun.
Anyway, so this episode...
Yeah.
Called Poilievre Going His Own Way.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard anything about this? Please tell me you've heard about this.
I haven't. No.
So
I know Poilievre is now the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada, which is frightening because he is truly a sociopath. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. I mean that in a literal sense. I like the man is like, he's calculated, he's cold, and he's kind of fucking brilliant, which is terrifying. He knows exactly what to say to rile the people up to join him, but he doesn't actually say any specific details at all. Go back and I mentioned this before, but go back and listen to what he says. It's all fluff. It's all fluff to just get you excited. But it's
but I would argue that, and I'm certainly no fan, but he does exactly what Trudeau does on the Liberal side, where he just he's doing right-wing fluff and Trudeau does Liberal fluff.
Does he really?
I kind of think so. There's always kind of lots of hugs and I'm like happy and going to do these things. And I think Poilievre is
all right. Well, that's okay.
And I think he's united the party because he's quite popular. He looks like an accountant with bodies in his basement. Don't get me wrong.
He really fucking does.
Yeah.
As far as fluff pieces are concerned, of just like getting people to join you for not doing anything. Like if Poilievre gets people riled up with anger and hate, and Trudeau kisses babies and joins pride parades, okay,
it's still fluff. One fluff is like hot and burns your hands, and the other fluff you could fall asleep in.
Just fall asleep in Trudeau's lap. Yeah, while he strokes your hair. Okay. I know what I'm going to dream of tonight.
Yeah, well, if you're going to go to the gym and you really want a tough workout, you want to go with Poilievre, and then when you want to relax afterwards, you hang out with Trudeau.
Right, in his lap.
Exactly. Anyway,
well, he makes hot cocoa on the stove.
If any of our listeners have relaxed in Trudeau's lap, let us know. We'll have to find out. boring@gmail.com. Pierre Pudo. Pierre Poilievre. If we merge the two of them.
Yeah, right. Oh, I like that. Pudo. Pierre Pudo.
Pierre Pudo. Basically, when their fluff combines, he's in big trouble because
Pierre's in trouble?
Fuck, he is in trouble. He's trying to ignore it, like politicians do, and Trudeau has said the same thing to him over and over again in Parliament to call him up on it. He was caught using hidden tags in his YouTube videos for years.
I saw this. I actually saw this. Yeah.
Into kind of angry male supremacy and kind of incel culture.
Now I am gonna play devil's advocate here because that's what I do. As much as I dislike the man, and I really dislike the man a lot, his response, if I'm remembering this correctly, and I can't believe I get to actually chime in about something before being taught. His response was that his PR team, which did all of his social media for him, one of the members on that team was responsible for the hashtags, and that person is being held accountable, and he had no idea. That, as much as I dislike the man, I got to say that's plausible. It is plausible that happened.
sense. That would make sense, except for the fact that he still has been talking in a way to appeal to them in every other situation.
You're going to have to give me some examples here.
If you're talking about kind of far-right male supremacy, there's a lot of that rooted in some of the people he poses for photos with, or some of the people he's marched with in the past, or some of the words and phrases he uses, attacking the World Economic Forum. All that is rooted in this kind of weird blob of conspiracies and far-right ideology, where male identity is at the heart of it as well.
I mean, do you have any specific examples?
Well, I gave a few then, but
I mean, no, I mean like specific tweets or things he said.
Okay. So he was on it. He was on. I think he was being interviewed by Jordan Peterson, and he was talking about he uses Anglo-Saxon language, which in itself is kind of like a weird thing to say.
I don't know what that means.
It's kind of like Anglo-Saxon is kind of a lot of white supremacists identify as Anglo-Saxons. They're the only people who still use those words, apart from people learning about ancient history in the British Isles.
Okay, all right. All right, that's weird.
It is weird, and that's what I mean. There's a few like things, but also the fact that he posed for several photos with far right people, even one of them who then ended up threatening to or making remarks about raping his wife as well.
Jesus. All right. So again, going to play devil's advocate because I think it's healthy to examine all sides. Is there a chance that this is the left blowing things out of proportion?
No, I think what it is that he's been trying to seduce or appeal to this bunch of kind of fringe far right.
Because I just want to interrupt because taking photos with the far right, he takes photos with everybody. That's kind of what you do when you're trying to get votes. You just people come up to you with a camera and maybe you don't know who they are until afterwards.
The far right wants to have photos with you. Let's change it the other way.
Sorry?
The far right want to have photos with you. Let's flip it the other way.
If you knew, I mean, how many politicians do you know say, no, thank you, I'm not taking my photo with you? They just want as much, I don't know.
That's a good point. That is a good point, but it keeps happening. And also he goes to the kind of places where they hang out. That's why they have photos together.
I want to specify that I'm not a Pierre sympathizer nor a far right sympathizer. I'm simply...
You're just doing a really good job of playing devil's advocate.
I think it's important. I think it's important to not jump to conclusions.
Right? You want to have that kind of. I agree with you. You can't just go, oh, he did another bad thing. Let's do another episode about a bad thing he did. It's not that. It's much more that this.
Don't get me the man frightens me, and I really hope he doesn't become prime minister because
the only hope is we do find the bodies under his accountancy. The thing I'd say about this is that.
If we as left-leaning sort of more...
You interrupted my last point. I didn't get to finish it.
Oh, sorry. All right.
He has a consistent track record of being around and appealing to and using language that appeals to these groups of people. So it doesn't surprise me that someone in his team, I'm not saying he's there updating the tags on his own YouTube videos, someone in his team is using them. So if you look at it in the bigger picture, it makes sense that they're trying to appeal to that group of people because he's been making an effort to appeal to that wider group of people for years.
Okay. And plus, if anybody on the team, anybody were to look at those hashtags and think that's out of place, what's that doing there? Someone just obviously people would have noticed or would have read, and nobody thought that was out of place. Nobody thought maybe we should talk to someone about these hashtags. Just nobody for years.
Yeah, exactly. And
if they were in Trudeau's Instagram or TikTok, so does Trudeau do TikTok? I don't know.
I don't know. Probably.
Someone would catch that, right? Pretty quickly.
I mean, these are really sophisticated, political campaigns tend to be the most sophisticated use of social media that you can find, the way they do stuff. And
right.
And then the thing is, I wanted to talk about what the tags actually were. Because a lot of people talk about the tags and go, these tags, and no one actually was really breaking it down massively or discussing it. So the tag in question was men go in their own way, or the MGTOW movement.
I mean, what is that?
is basically the men going their own way is the belief that society has been irreversibly corrupted by feminism, resulting in a systematic bias against men and their viewpoints, and they want their male separatists who seek to remove themselves from the negative influence of women entirely, and it's kind of rooted in male supremacy.
It's a reaction that's happened throughout history whenever a large movement occurs, an important movement, that needs to address equality in some form. People don't like change, and they don't like the aggression that usually comes with that change, and they kind of react to it in their own way. And so, like, I get that they're doing it. I don't like it. It's not great. It's not healthy. But like, all right, that's gonna keep happening whenever we have like important sort of changes happening in society. We're gonna have a small group of people going, "Wow, we don't like that."
Oh, exactly. And is so basically as well, like that tag has been banned by Reddit and TikTok because it was often people using it are violating rules, and they're typically inciting violence and hatred when they're using it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's where it gets controversial, is that it's hurtful stuff that people tend to be talking about. And he was using it for 4 years on his YouTube channel, or his team were using it for 4 years on his channel, just to play devil's advocate. And it's been on hundreds of his videos since 2018. And also they were using the tag Ben Shapiro. I don't know if you know who Ben Shapiro is.
I've heard the name. Who is it again?
Very funny, squeaky voice, little kind of man who does like right wing. He's kind of like a far right pundit in America.
Maybe you'd have to see it again.
He's quite entertaining in the sense of he looks like he's just very angry, and I don't know why he's so popular, because he's just an angry person.
Hey there, Canadian Politics' Boring listeners. My name is Eric Grenier, and I'm the host of the RIT Podcast. Now, my podcast might be a little more PG than the one you're listening to, but if you think Canadian politics isn't always boring, you might want to check out the RIT Podcast. Every episode, I'm joined by some special guests to chat about politics throughout the country, with a focus on elections, both provincial and federal. You can find the RIT Podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or you can head to therit.ca to listen to past episodes and to subscribe to the newsletter. That's therit.ca, THEWRIT.ca. New episodes are out every Friday. I hope you'll tune in.
And this was if I was digging into it. So this whole community online is known as the manosphere.
Okay.
So it's kind of a culture of grief, conspiracies, and kind of extreme misogyny. And there's lots of different groups that believe different things. Most of it is kind of against women. So there's the men's rights activists, or MRAs, and they claim that family law and social institutions discriminate against men. I know, people who've been through divorces and come out the wrong way, and I can see why people become radicalized, or not even radicalized, who would kind of talk to other people in those groups if they've had bad experiences with family law and those institutions. But that happens to people on both sides typically.
It's really fascinating from a sociological perspective how this happens throughout the years, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking about the feminist movement, or angry feminists as they might call them, I've seen examples of this. I've seen this. I've got a lot of feminist friends in the film industry, as an example, who talk about how unfair it is for women writers and women directors, and it is unfair and has been unfair for a very long time, and not just in the film industry, but like all kinds of industries. And so the feminist movement has, if to make progress, as like, I'm kind of speaking about like all big movements, to make progress, they typically end up being really angry at some point, and kind of really pointing fingers and putting the other side down. Like it kind of sucks that anger's involved and hate's involved, but it is, without it, they typically don't make a lot of motion in their movement. And it's that anger and it's that hate that the other side, in quotes, reacts to. That's unfair. You can't say that all men are assholes and all men are bastards. And it's true. All men are not assholes. All men are not bastards. And so it's interesting how these movements progress. And it's interesting how people react to the anger that propels these movements forward. And these movements are important. They're about equality. But it's not about the equality that these people are reacting to. It's not about the fact that these movements exist that these people are reacting to. It's about how these people have to use anger to just be fucking heard at all, which is unfortunate, but like, it's, and understandable that they're angry. So like these far right, manospheres are all just butthurt that like people are pointing out that they've been shitheads for a while.
Well, exactly. Or just like
angrily pointing out that they've been shitheads for a while, because if they just quietly pointed it out, no one would listen.
Yeah. And if you're privileged, equality looks like inequality to you.
Right. But I'm like, yeah.
You used to have the advantage of like that you do get from being a white male in society. Then once somebody else kind of evens the playing field, you go, whoa, I'm less influential than I used to be.
Right.
And that probably is scary to people who like see that as a big part of their identity.
Yeah.
And the other thing is pickup artists are a big part of this as well. Self-proclaimed alpha males who date and harass women and believe that society is feminizing men. This was one of the descriptions I found. So you've got to be an alpha male, and why do women fall in love with feminine men? And by feminine men, they probably just mean people who shave and have a shower.
Metrosexuals, yeah. Actually, I have an interesting theory that I'm sure is completely false. That has to do with why a large piece of the male population has been, if you want to use the phrase feminized, sure, and it all has to do with World War II.
Okay. I also don't think it's true.
Well, hold on, let me just.
I don't think that men are inherently more feminine than they ever were.
No, hold on. Let me just get World War II. So everything in society,
the end.
We react to large events. That's what we do as a society. Something that is large and in your face, we tend to react to. Like this, we find balance. You know what? This is a very long rabbit hole. Let's not go down this one.
Your theory about an event that nobody remembers because it was 80 years ago is making men more feminine.
Okay, well, no, not men more feminine. Let's remove that. Okay. Influenced by a feminine voice, with nothing wrong with that, by the way.
Are you talking about because everyone died?
So no, World War II happened, and then we reacted to World War II with 1950s, which is like everything's structured, everything's safe. We have a household, we have a job, we have a picket fence. This is how cookie cutter lives, because we reacted to the insanity that was World War II. And from this,
women typically stayed home because they could afford to survive off one income.
No, let me keep going with this. So from the 50s, people reacted from the 50s with the 60s, which is enough of this structure, enough of this insane, like you have to have these cookie cutter lives. It's peace, love, and just like do what you want, man. Do all these drugs, make love with whoever you please, And from this era came a lot of children. With people who weren't intended to be like with one another. So you had like a lot of divorces in the 70s and 80s, like a lot, like a statistical anomaly of divorces in the 1970s and 80s, to the point where the court system was kind of overwhelmed with it. And they just kind of like, okay, we don't have the time to kind of sit down with all this. Let's just give all the children to the women. And so just one after another, all the women were basically given the children to raise, and the fathers, if they wanted to, maybe could fight to see them on the weekends. And so you've got this huge generation of children being raised solely by women. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, you get some incredibly powerful, wonderful, smart, intelligent men being raised solely by women. But there is an influence in that. And I think that might be what they're talking about. There you go. There's my rabbit hole conspiracy theory. What do you think?
I think it's flawed in several places. But I appreciate you trying.
Right.
I think that it's just. I genuinely think that very little has changed.
Right.
And that interesting to talk about World War I and World War II. Typically, a lot of equality happened after those because all the men were fighting and taken away, and women had to run society without men, and they did. And then men came back, and they were like already proven themselves they could do this anyway. That's what had that knock-on effect further down. How that affected men, no idea. But I don't think it made them more feminine necessarily.
Okay, is that your counterpoint?
I think I think all of it is bullshit, to be honest.
all of my theory is bullshit. All right,
no, like the whole thing, this whole argument: are men more feminine than they used to be? All this kind of stuff is like men used to be.
Hold on,
go back to when men used to wear powdered wigs and peacock around in fine silks.
But that might have been considered manly back then. Everything changes as to our opinion as to what manly and feminine is.
How do you go? Men were more manly in the 1970s. Yeah, but they also had lead poisoning and died of lung cancer from smoking.
No. So I think you're mistaking what I'm saying. Like masculine and feminine they're made up tropes, right?
Yeah,
they're completely made up. What is masculine? What is feminine? They're whatever we mean them to be. All I'm pointing out is that for a long period of time, a large population of men was raised mainly by women, and that may have had a very interesting sociological impact on that generation of men. What was that impact? I don't know, but it occurred.
What about the fact that during the Victorian era, boys and girls were dressed in the same clothes up until a certain age?
Is that true? That's neat.
Yeah. And you didn't really have gender-specific clothing until you got to a certain age.
That's very, very neat. Oh, I don't have the answers. I'm just pointing out what happened.
There's so many different things you can throw at it and go, oh, that's weird. Maybe this did that. Even you go back to...
This is why I love, what is it called? Sociology, because it's fascinating.
Is why I think it's all bullshit. Because it always changes and everyone goes, oh, the youth today. Everyone has said, oh, what's wrong with the youth today? Everyone says that all the time for the last 10,000 years.
That's true, they have. And like the music that the youth listen to is noise and garbage.
It's noise. But what are they listening? Oh, I can't enjoy that. And then those kids who were listening to I saw a really funny post actually. It was the meme of Steve Buscemi pretending to be a kid with a skateboard and his hat on backwards. And they said, Blink-182 fans with lower back problems go into the reunion. And it made me laugh. I was like, oh my God, yeah. I remember Blink-182. I was a teenager and people go, oh, well, what's that awful music you're listening to? They use bad words. And now I'm like, oh my God, that's old music now.
I remember being a teenager and my parents... My friends' parents would call our music noise constantly. What's that noise you're listening to? And we'd roll our eyes. I'm like, it's music. It's good music. And now looking back, I'm like, oh God, it was awful. What we listened to is just
exactly. Anyway, so we should do a ghost story. This is kind of something. I just wanted to talk about those tags and stuff. I thought it was interesting that, in conclusion, he surrounded himself by this messaging and this was inevitable. And I think there'll probably be more stuff that'll come up with these kind of things just because that's been his tactic. It's just that Global News did a really good job of specifically finding that out and dropping it as a news story and making him kind of have to explain himself, I guess.
I'm curious what your thought is on this when it comes to do with Pierre and those viewpoints. Do you think he truly does hold personal beliefs of the far right, of like white supremacists, or do you believe that he's just playing to them for votes and he's just saying the things that he thinks that his target audience that he's already chosen will believe and listen to, but he doesn't give a shit one way or another? It's all political for him.
I don't care whether he believes in it. No, listen, I don't care whether he believes in it or whether he's using it tactically. Either way, either option, in my judgment, I would believe it to be morally unsound either way. Either you're happy to, either he believes it and he's doing it, or he's willing to stand next to people and promote that message or be part of it. To me, that's one and the same thing. It's part of the same, he's just morally unacceptable for me to ever vote for somebody like that.
That's a very good point. Oh yeah, like it doesn't fucking matter what he believes because of his actions. His actions speak louder than words. Whether he believes it or not, he's still doing these things and saying these things.
In that movement, like it just being passive, and
right.
When he's not even being passive, it is part of his strategy. So, some people are passive and they don't care about politics, like yourself. And you go, well, you can't blame people like that for not knowing about the far right and what's going on. But he's not even being passive. He's been kind of using that anger and feeding it. So doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, honestly. And it just goes back to our original thought of he's a monster wearing a human's flesh over his bones.
No, he's not. He's an accountant with bodies in the basement.
Right. Yes. I'm sorry, Reese. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. All accounted for. Yeah.
I feel bad for him and his wife, like the horrible things that, like threats that were made from the far right to his family and stuff. But
hold on, far right is threatening him?
No. So one of the far right people he had a photo with, people posted the photo saying it, and then this far right person was on a podcast or something, or live streaming, and basically was joking about raping Poilievre's wife.
Jesus.
But then people were posting the picture of him with him going, well, you shook his hand, and you hanging out with these people. I guess like if you like, it's obviously a horrible thing to happen, and even more unfortunate that he was photographed with him, and like not nice for him and his family to have to deal with those kind of things being talked about him online. So, but whether him being part of that community or kind of seducing that community or appealing to them played a part in that, I'm sure they say the same thing about Trudeau as well.
I mean, you poke a bear, buddy. Like it's the bear slashes out at you. Like, come on, like. I don't know.
Exactly. You shake hands with somebody covered in shit, you're getting your hands covered in shit.
Is that a Welsh saying? I love it. That's great. I'm going to start using that.
Made it up.
Well, you know what they say, kids. If you shake hands with someone covered in shit, your hands are going to be covered in shit. What does that mean, Daddy? Go to school. Yeah.
Go to school. Listen to this podcast. So we need your ghost story, Jesse.
Okay. All right. Are you ready? Are you going to add music and sound effects as you do? Because you're good at that.
If I have time.
Come on now. Okay. So this is a fun ghost story. This is from Ryan Morris, who experienced this when he was, I believe, either a late teenager or young adult. I think young adult. So he had a friend who was really into the occult in a fun way, but like wanted to really contact someone, the spirits of the dead, or just like make contact somehow. And they planned to do this Ouija board night together. And so Ryan knew from experience that, like, Ouija. Now Ryan believes in spirits and whatnot, but he also kind of thinks that Ouija boards are a little bit, depends on who's using it, sort of thing, and what their intent is. And for the most part, Ouija boards move because someone makes them move. You get a group of 5 people, someone's kind of just fucking moving that thing if the thing moves, is what he gets at. Does it have connections into the spirit world? He believes it does. Again, under certain circumstances, with certain people, not
it's
often.
Board game.
What?
Sorry, I just said it's a board game.
Well, it was around a lot longer before fucking Mattel turned into a fucking board game. But anyway, so they had this night planned out. And Ryan was going to bring over his Ouija board with his friend. And his friend was all excited for this. He's like, they're going to pull out all the fucking stuff. So he brings it over, and they turn off all the lights, and they put on candles. Maybe not all the lights. They dim the lights. It's like, they dim the lights, and they light some candles, and they put on a stereo, and they took like, I don't know, fucking metal tape, like a fucking rock metal or whatever it is, and they opened up the cassette tape, and they flipped the spools of tape so that when they played the tape, it would play backwards, just to pull out all the fucking stops. Okay. And they waited until 3 a.m, the witching hour. And then they brought out the Ouija board. So it's all dark. There's candles. There's dim lighting from the lamps. There's backwards metal playing, on the stereo next to them, and they've got the Ouija board here, and they've got it out, and they've got their hands on it. And it's just him and Ryan. That's it. And Ryan is determined. He's like, okay, so my friend here is adamant. He really wants to talk to somebody. So I know he's not going to move this thing as a joke, as a prank. He wouldn't do that. And I know that if I don't move this thing and it moves, then we're talking to someone or something. And so they ask out loud, please, oh spirits, if someone is there, please talk to us. And they've asked like so many questions, and for like half an hour goes by, nothing. Nothing. And his friend is still adamant as ever, we got to do this. And they had to get up and change the tape at one point, and they come back and they relight some candles, and like 45 minutes into this, nothing's happening. And then suddenly the lights, all the power goes out in the entire block. The music stops, the dim lights shut off, and everything. And instead of being engulfed in silence, there are cats everywhere. The sound of cats in heat, dozens and dozens and dozens of cats outside. And they're like, what the fuck? It's like, I don't know, 3:30, 3:40 in the morning. And they go to the window and they look out the window. And they don't see dozens and dozens of cats. They still hear them. But the only thing that they see is this old man in a robe and a cane walking slowly up the street, up the middle of the street by himself, and at his feet is a small black cat. And the man would take 3 steps and stop, and the cat would walk up to him, wrap around walk around his feet once and sit by his legs. And the man would then take another 3 steps forward, and then stop, and the cat would walk up to him, walk around his legs once, and then sit. And he kept doing this, and they were just like, what the hell? And where are all these cats coming from? And finally, the man walked right up into the middle of the street, just in front of their house, and he stopped. And he slowly turned his face, and he looked right at them, and both of them could swear that he had no eyes, just hollowness for his eyes. And they were just scared shitless, and they dove back from the window. And the second they dove back from the window, the power came back on. Tape started playing, the lights came back on, and all of the cats they heard stopped meowing. And they ran back to the window, and they looked out the window, and the man was gone. That is a true story.
Nice. Catman.
Wow, Reese, you really do embody the spirit of Halloween. Just saying, like, just Halloween.
Halloween. Cool. That was a good story. Well, Halloween is coming. Everyone have a great day.
Make sure to tune in for Halloween, our special Halloween episode that Reese is going to concoct for us. I'm putting all the pressure on Reese now to come up with a really spooky, amazing Halloween episode.
If you shit your pants from Jesse's story, just, go and get cleaned up and get back to work.
Unless you really like sitting in your own poop.
Yeah. Damn, each to their own.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, if you are a poop sitter, give us a shout out.
Please don't. No. Don't encourage that behavior, Reese. No. Jesus Christ.
See you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.